everyone. Hope you're all doing really well. I'm having a pretty good day today. Many of you probably know, my days are mixed with seeing therapy clients, coaching clients, couples, individuals who are wanting to date smarter, couples who are wanting to maybe reignite their spark, increase intimacy, communicate better, work through conflict more successfully, things like that. And I also meet with my team throughout the week, whether it be my matchmaking team with Little Gay Book or my operations person that makes sure that all the balls stay in the air and that everybody gets taken care of and that I stay on task because I do really well at multitasking, but I also need sometimes the reminder of prioritizing important things in my life. And what else? And then I get to interact with my matchmaking clients regularly and search and screen and vet potential date matches for them. So this morning has been it's midday and I've already had a really nice combination of clients, matchmaking, coaching, and meeting with people on the team. So I'm grateful for, this opportunity to serve in a way that's super, super meaningful to me. And being part of my community, serving in this way, both collectively creating a safe space for people to attend dating events that are welcoming of everybody in the LGBTQ plus space, and to be able to run a team that is really supportive and welcoming and open and receptive to each other is really amazing. And I often feel very, very lucky and fortunate to have a staff that's been with us. Many of them have been with us for a good number of years, and that makes me really happy. So I'm just feeling, I guess, when I think about it, I feel really just a ton of gratitude and appreciation for where I find myself today in my career and with important people in my life. So yeah, so those are my thoughts right now. So maybe the takeaway is that it's important to have gratitude and to self-reflect on important aspects of your life that fuel your self-esteem, self-worth, purpose, my day-to-day purpose. Like having purpose is so incredibly important, especially when we're in a world of confusion and chaos and trying to be productive and purposeful on a daily basis. So yeah, anyway, I will jump into today's topic. I think I've said pretty much what I want to say on a personal note. And of course, I want to lastly just say thank you to all that keep showing up here with me. If you're new, please subscribe to my channel. I promise you that I will show up here on a regular basis and offer you really, really meaningful, solid tips and skills and even thoughts to consider. Oftentimes, a lot of what I talk about is empirically validated, backed by science. That's really, really important. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm also a board certified sex therapist who's been practicing for over 20 years. And I've been the CEO of Little Gay Book, which is an LGBTQ plus matchmaking firm that's national for, we're coming up on 18 years. So so I've learned a lot in my career and, in my own lived experience and, all my education, and I'm here to share it all with you to the best of my ability. So let's jump into today's topic. When kinks don't match, what do we do when our desires, our interests sexually don't match? One of the sexiest and most fun parts of the beginning stages of dating is getting to know each other sexually. What turns them on, what you're both trying for the first time, and for people into BDSM, what both of your kinks actually are. But what happens when you discover as part of this process that you actually aren't compatible in this regard? What if they're interested in being degraded and humiliated, but you're into more of a nurturing mommy dynamic? Or if you're a switch who occasionally bottoms, but they're looking for a 24/7 submissive? Working through kinks that don't match can be tough, but not necessarily impossible. Here's how. Check in about what's a yes, what's a no, and what's a maybe. We could mean a lot of different things when we say we're into something in bed or in a BDSM context. That we like it occasionally, that we like it all the time, that we tried it once and enjoyed it, that we haven't tried it at all but have an idea of it, that we love it so much we actually don't want to have sex or do a scene that doesn't include it. Similarly, if we say we aren't into something, we might mean that we find it actively unpleasant or even triggering and don't want to do it again. Alternatively, we might mean that it doesn't really do very much for us, but we feel neutral or even fine about it once in a while. The first order of business, if you and your partner feel differently about one or more kinks, is to talk through exactly how you really feel about it. It's possible that while one of your interests might not have much appeal for the other, it's something you're willing to do once in a while just for your partner's sake, and it can stay on the table as an option. And while you should never feel pressured to change for a partner, it's totally possible that you might grow to like something you previously didn't see the appeal of after it becomes part of your sex life with someone you care about and you enjoy seeing happy. A yes, no, maybe list can be a helpful tool for having these conversations. Having a maybe category can help clarify where you may not exactly be aligned, but where you could perhaps find a flexible solution. Get to the bottom of why you want what you want. If you flatly aren't interested in something that's important to your partner, or vice versa, it can be useful to dig into why you're into the things you are. What makes the things you want to do thrilling or appealing? What about how it makes you feel? If you like doing age play because you like feeling small and vulnerable and taken care of, is there another kind of dynamic or role play that would help meet the same need? It can also be helpful to get into how you both feel about sexual roles like topping and bottoming, if that's part of what's coming up for you. If you're having difficulty because, say, you both prefer topping or both prefer bottoming, talking about what you like or what feels good to you about that role or what feels bad to you about that complementary role can be helpful in figuring out a way to move forward. If one partner doesn't like bottoming because they don't like feeling submissive or powerless, are these dynamics you can forge together where the bottom is strong and powerful? If someone doesn't like topping because it feels dysphoric, are there kinks or sex acts you can focus on that don't center around their anatomy and center more on a psychological component? Consider exploring other options. For some people, struggling to get their sexual needs met inside the relationship because of incompatibility is a reason to pursue a non-monogamous relationship structure. One of the often repeated tenets underpinnings non-monogamy is that no one person can meet all of our needs. Maybe your partner is really adept at meeting your emotional and psychological needs and your needs in a housemate and partner and logistics. And so it feels reasonable to you both for you to pursue other sexual partners who have more similar kink interests. What opening a relationship looks like is unique to you and your partner. Maybe you agree that you're strictly dating other people in a sexual or kink-based context and avoiding emotional attachment or more involved relationships, just making plans to get flogged or put in a pup hood. Consider breaking up. This isn't a popular option, and for good reason. If you're looking for solutions on how to navigate different sexual interests and kinks, it's because you're trying to find ways for the relationship to work out. This is completely fair and understandable. It feels heartbreaking and unfair to think that a relationship that makes you both happy in other ways with someone you may love deeply might not work out because you can't align on this one thing. On the other hand, breakup is often the kindest and healthiest thing for all parties if they're genuinely incompatible on something that's non-negotiable in the relationship for at least one person. If you knew of a couple where one person wanted kids and one didn't, or one person wanted an active sex life but one was asexual and disinterested in sex entirely, breaking up would likely seem like a reasonable option. For many people, being able to engage with their kinks within the confines of their romantic sexual relationship is on par with these items in significance and importance to their well-being and happiness. Breaking up may allow you both to pursue relationships that better meet your needs, And maybe with luck, you can remain friends and keep this important person in your life in some way, while taking in important learnings about prioritizing kink compatibility early on in future dates and relationships. That's what I have for you folks for today. I hope you got something out of this topic when kinks don't match. And if you have any reactions, thoughts, feelings, suggestions, post them below. You're not the only one that is thinking these things. And it's helpful for people to feel seen, right? Like, oh, okay, great. I too have these thoughts or feelings. So don't be afraid to express yourself. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Kisses, hugs, take really good care, everybody.